Good afternoon, this is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. We are going to have the second briefing. The family of ex-player of the Odesa football team, Chornomorets, addressed us because of the tribute game the Russia is going to have in Moscow. Our speakers are Serhiy Tsymbalar, the eldest son of former Chornomorets player Ilya Tsymbalar, and Iryna Tsymbalar, widow of former Chornomorets player Tsymbalar. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for being with us. And I would like to say that I will speak in Russia to convey my message to organizers of Ilya Tsymbalar's tribute game in Moscow. So, first of all, I would like to respond to Ilya Tsymbalar's participation in the national team of Russia. Let's look at the national team back of 1994. That was Tsymbalar, Nikaforin, Salenko, Anopka, Tarnavsky. What does it mean? This means that back then the association in the Russian Federation then just tried to involve all these Ukrainian football players in their national team. That's why I don't think that there is justification of the hatred against my father that we can see now in media. And my dad died in 2013, where there was no war at all. And now I would like to speak about the attitude of Russia's football team Spartak to Ilya Tsymbalar. Ilya Tsymbalar played most part of his career in Russia for Moscow Spartak. But what they did to him when they had no interest in him anymore, although they could ensure a more productive football life for him. He could play in Italian Perugia, later Madrid's Real. And I would like to ask why, when there were proposals to my father to join some top football club in Europe, you told to him that no, Ilya, we need you. We will never let you go because we cannot do without you. And then in 1999, you'd just disposed him as some material, some waste. That's what I wanted to ask them about. Secondly, why, when that happened in 2014, that terrible thing happened, when no one of you who are now organizing Ilya Tsymbalar's tribute game in Moscow did not come to the funeral of my father. That was on the 30th of December. I understand that it was on the eve of the New Year. But those who wanted to pay tribute to my father, they found time to arrive to Ukraine in 2013, the 30th of December, to be there at funerals of my dad. And this is now I'm addressing Igor Rydakhov, who actually back then was at the airport with his family to go for a holiday to some islands. But when he learned about my father's death, he sent his family back, he's changed his tickets, and he came to Ukraine to say goodbye to Ilya Tsymbalar, his friend. Why nobody visited us when it was 9 days and 40 days after the death of Ilya Tsymbalar? On the 9th day, I visited Moscow because they organized a tournament among football fans, but no one expressed condolences to me. I did not feel any sympathy, so it was just a match. My mother and I did not give any consent to Ilya Tsymbalar's tribute game in Moscow, and we do not support it. We are not related to this game, and I will do everything possible for this game to take place. And I believe that this should not be like this. There is a kind of blasphemy, actually, when amidst the war they try to organize tribute game in Moscow, despite the fact that Russia's missiles are flying over Ilya Tsymbalar's tomb. So how do you imagine this tribute game? You will give applause, you will cheer yourself up, saying that you've done something good, and at the same time, my mother, my family, and I have to go to the bomb shelter because of the shelling. I don't think that they even imagine anything. The next question is about so-called stars that they invited to the tribute game in Moscow. I don't remember my father being with Adebayor, Canizares, Marientes. How old Adebayor was when my father was at its best. So it's actually strange, and I would like now to address these legends of the world football. Are you really going to visit the aggressor's country who has attacked the homeland and hometown of Ilya Tsymbalars? I understand that you did not know Ilya Tsymbalar personally, but if you have any respect to this football player, please come to us. I will show you the tomb of my father. We can even organize a game here in Odesa. Yes, he played in Spartak for some period of time, but he was grown up by Odesa football team Chornomorets. So how is he related to Moscow to have a tribute game there in Moscow? Sergei, as far as I understand from the information that you've provided to us before this press conference, your brother in Moscow supported what is happening there. He's one of the organizers. Do you communicate with him? No. I contacted him last time when I saw that he was in Moscow because my mother and I were not aware of that. And we learned about this when he gave his first interview in Moscow. And that was when I messaged him last time, saying that this is your choice. My mother and I, we do not accept it. But if you've done that, please never mention my mother, my father, or me, because we do not have any relations to that event there. That's it. And if he doesn't understand what he's doing, then we cannot just affect him somehow. Did he went to Moscow? Did he move there after the start of the full-scale invasion? That was the end of August, the beginning of September 2022. So first he stayed here. So how do you think? Why did he decide to make the tribute game? So we do not know for sure, but we have some guesses. Perhaps that were the people who promised him some money, saying that because of the last name of his father, he could just make a PR campaign. And they need to show something because they are now cut off of the world football. That's why they create such so-called tribute games. They organize media leagues because they need to show something to their people. And they cannot play now at the international level. Do we have any questions from the floor? If yes, please use the mic. Thank you. Serhiy, Iryna, I know the situation too well. and I fully support you. And I cannot but ask you about the reaction of colleagues. All my colleagues who are also watching your press conference now fully support you. They support the truth. They understand the situation. And those who cannot be here have their reasons. So there has been an air raid alert. And I would like to ask you about the reaction of people in other countries. And for example, Edward Luchin, who is now in New York, my colleague, whom I respect a lot, he wanted to say something about that, and I know that Serhiy contacted him. So what is the response of that continent? Because Edward Luchin was the first trainer of Ilya Tsymbalar. Thank you very much for your question. On Sunday, I contacted Eduard Petrovich, and I told him about that attempt to have a tribute game in Moscow. And it was very difficult for me to calm down him because he felt so frustrated that he even was crying. And I tried to calm him down, saying that we will do everything possible to prevent this tribute game in Moscow. And he told me the following thing. He said that the most frustrating for him was that when we, real friends of Ilya Tsymbalar, just organized the monument in Odesa, the Day of Remembrance in Odesa, he, Eduard Petrovich, he sent an official letter saying that if someone wants to pay tribute to Ilya, they could be involved in all these events, in just making the monument and having a tribute game. And no one responded to that official letter. Then I learned that they gave a very simple answer saying that they should not support any of these events because Ilya Tsymbalar was buried in Odessa in Ukraine. And now, a decade after the death of Ilya Tsymbalar, they decided to organize tribute game in Moscow. But where were you before? Why did not you organize the farewell game when my father was still alive, like it was for Titov, Tikhonov, Alenovich? Because you had no interest in him back then, because you could not earn a lot of money using him. And now I have the same question. Why, when my dad died, no one arrived to us? Only Litsa, Titov, Tikhonov, Parfenov, from the fellow players of Ilya Tsymbalar. Where were you before? And Parfenov, I don't know where he is. So there is no information from him. Over the last decade, no one has ever called to us asking about the situation. I know for sure that that Anopka, Khokhlov, and Lidzakhin Voronin helped us with the monument, and Voronin is from Odessa, so he was one of the first to support us. But Lidzakov, Anopka, Khokhlov, they just helped us with the monument for my dad's tomb. But those who are now trying to organize a tribute game, Tikhonov, Titov, Alenovich, for sure will play. But where were you before? I just want you to understand us. We feel frustrated, we feel offended and insulted, and we are against this tribute game. Yes. Because this is a hypocrisy. They have never asked us. And as for my second son, I think that he should have contacted Serhiy, asking about his or my opinion, if it's really possible to have such tribute game in Moscow. And sure think that it is impossible, but no one has contacted us. And if you allow, one more question. I know it is very important during the war to be together And now it is very clear who is bad and who is good. And it is great that Odesa football team, Chornomorets, just reacted to this situation. And it is very good that thanks to this Chornomorets team and the stadium, we could discuss this topic. And I know that this is Tsymbalar school, and you're the coach there. And I know that you have started cooperation with Chornomorets football club. We need to understand that Ilya Tsymbalar was raised by Chornomorets football team. He's buried in Odesa. There is Tsymbalar school in Odesa, and it is not related to Moscow. And he's just finished his career in the national Russia's team in 1999, and there have been no contacts since then. Could you share more details about cooperation with Chornomorets football team, and what is the attitude of the club to this situation? And we know the official position of the press service, but could you share some more details? Football, Chornomorets, are you asking about football, Chornomorets football club? Yes, but I would like to start with Tsymbalar's football club, who was opened a year ago. And this club has already participated in a range of events. And this month, we are starting our cooperation with the Chornomorets football club. So we will raise football players who will be ready to participate in the Ukrainian competition in Chornomorets football club. As for their response, they have the same position as we do. They are also shocked. And even on the weekend, there was a game in Odesa, and Vladislav Vashuk also arrived. I explained him everything, and he says that this is really hypocrisy. So all like normal people, they're against this game in Moscow. But they just want to use my father's last name. They want to earn money. They want to have some hype, but this is not good. This is wrong. We are not allowing you to do this. And I would also like to add that I know one more reason for them to organize this tribune game in Moscow. On the 16th and 17th June in summer, we had the children's football game to give tribute to Ilya Tsymbalar because it was his birthday. And the friends of Ilya Tsymbalar who were in Odessa actively participated in this event. And for example, Chornomorets football club provided their field, and that was a 2-day tournament. It was planned to have 32 children's team. We had 27 in the long run. So at least 15 children for each team. And that was a more scale event. Perhaps they learned about that, and they decided to give something bigger, to have the start of the international football, to have this tribute game in Moscow. But my question is how these stars are related to my father. And children's tournament is not the tournament that they're going to have in Moscow. We had a non-commercial event that was a holiday for children in our difficult times. But what they want to do there, they just want to have the information campaign. And if these stars of the world football want to pay tribute to Ilya Tsymbalar, they can have been involved in the development of our club, because children always need balls, inventory, uniform. You can always contact us, and we can agree how you can support our children's club if you really want to pay tribute to my father. Thank you very much for sharing this detail. Thank you this detail. Thank you for your position. That was the last briefing in Media Center Ukraine Odessa for today. Please stay tuned and for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.